The first relationship is the relationship कि कितना हम क्लोथ या फूड सप्लाई करेंगे, relative supply of cloth and food, which depends, which we are generating with respect to your PPF, production possibility frontier. I hope that this relationship is absolutely clear to you. Okay, now let us go ahead and move on to the second relationship. Let's go to the second relationship. Relationship 2. So now we want to talk about relative prices and the relative demand curve. Right? So let's say that DC represents the consumption of cloth. And DF represents the consumption of food. Right? And of course, we know something that for markets to clear, the value of production, right, should be equal to value of consumption. Right, beta? And what is the value of production? Price of cloth into quantity of cloth. Price of food into quantity of food. And what is the value of consumption? Price of cloth into demand of cloth. Price of food into demand for food. And both must be equal to V. Right? Both must be equal to V. Is this making sense? So because both are equal to V, right? So if I ask you, beta, what will be my line of consumption? Line of consumption is this. V is constant. We were assuming value to be constant. So this also equals to V only. This was production was also equal to V only. Both are taking care of the same prices only. It means that my production and consumption will lie on the same ISO value line. It can be something like this. Let me give you an example. Just for example, if I tell you price of cloth is 2, price of food is suppose 3, value that I am creating is say 60. Okay. So my production equation will be 2 price of cloth into quantity of cloth. Price of food into quantity of food equal to value. Okay. So suppose, for example, your production bundle can be this. It will lie on this line, beta. देख लो जरा ध्यान से. 2 into 15 is 30. 3 into 10 is 30. 30 plus 30 is 60. Now let's talk about consumption. 2 DC. 3 DF. Value is 60. But consumption can be different. Matlab, consumer is facing the same price. Value is the same. But the bundle can be different. So it can be that my consumption bundle can be let's say this. So I want to make this 60, but I don't want fractions. I want to create it with something else, but I will get fractions now. Okay, so I am creating this bundle. Both lie on the same line. Both lie on the same line. दोनों ही इसी line पर ही हैं. Are you understanding it? But production bundle is different from consumption bundle. Both will have same slope because they are facing the same prices. Both will carry the same value, but production and consumption will be different. Okay. So where were we producing? क्या था मेरा production point? Point of production? My point of production was where production possibility frontier was tangential to the ISO value line whose slope was PC by PF with a negative sign, of course. Now the question is, what will be my point of consumption? What will be my point of consumption? तो consumption के लिए decision making में क्या चाहिए होगा? Indifference curve. You will need indifference curve for making decisions. So here we say that where indifference curve are tangential to ISO value line with slope minus PC by PF. So ISO value line is same, but now you have tangency of the indifference curve. So now what will happen is you have this as your PPF. ठीक है बेटा? Suppose ये आपका ISO value line हो गया. This is your point of production. Cloth and food. Now you want to reach the highest indifference curve possible. So suppose your ICs are like this. कहीं पे भी हो सकते हैं IC. There is no relation to that. So my IC can be somewhere here. I am still on the ISO value line now. As long as I am on the ISO value line, consumption is possible. तो मैं उसी ISO value line पे हूँ. So this is my consumption value. DC, TF. Now you see economy is consuming more food than it is producing. Consumption of food is more than production of food. So here you will have food imports. And here consumption is less than production. So here you will have cloth exports. Okay. Here you will have cloth export. Achha, this is not a generic behavior. मतलब ये नहीं कि हम every time you will export cloth and import food. No. It can be the other way around also. ठीक है? तो it is very well possible कि मेरा जो indifference curve होता, instead of being here, my tangency of indifference curve would have been here. Then I would have imported cloth because my demand would have been more and exported food. ठीक है? क्योंकि demand would have been less than production. And very rarely, because exact import export equals सिर्फ तब होते हैं when you have a closed economy. It is also possible that economy can be here. So there is no general rule that indifference curve will always be here. I have just shown you one case कि indifference curve का tangency यहाँ हो सकता है. It is possible. So in this case, economy is producing more clothes than it is consuming. Hence, it is exporter of cloth. ठीक है. एंड therefore it is, यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं कि डिमांड ऑफ फूड इज मोर देन डिमांड ऑफ देन प्रोडक्शन ऑफ फूड, सो इट इज इंपोर्टर ऑफ फूड. इज दिस क्लियर बेटा? ये बात समझ में आती है? ठीक है. नाउ अगेन माय क्वेश्चन इज द सेम. व्हाट हैपेंस if relative food or relative price of cloth increases? What happens when relative price of cloth increases? तो क्या होगा? ठीक है.